Hello, good people. It's sunny, it's glorious, the weather is fantastic, and this is Jesse. Welcome to another edition of Sports Banter with Jesse. Yeah, I have a couple of things to discuss now, and it follows from what we've been discussing in the last 2 weeks about the development of African football. So we've all seen what's going on with Club World Cup. Yeah, it's not. I think there's too many games that players have to play. The players who are playing right now in the top five leagues of the world, they would just rather be on the beach with pina colada, drinking, sleeping, enjoying their lives. They don't want to go off to play another pointless, league. But for the African clubs, the sort of money involved, that we discussed last week, it's crazy. So they want to be there. They want to play football. They want to earn money that can develop African football. And if you remember last week, we talked about how and why Osimhen should actually take the money from the league in Saudi because it doesn't come off and he has a 10-year plan. So the Saudi Development Fund, the Sports Development Fund, has about 10 years to run and is already run for 4 years. So this sort of money we're talking about, not everybody can get it. So they have specific profiles of players that can be paid this kind of money. And there are not too many Africans in it. So you're lucky if they have singled you out to sign you. And I, the research that I did last week, it was 45 million euros a year that's been offered to Osimhen. Right now, we've heard that has gone up to 50 million euros a year to be earned. That is a lot of money, guys. So if you're earning 50 million euros a year and you sign, uh, okay, 50 million euros a year, yeah, and you sign just 3 years, you have 150 million euros. Yes. So I think I might have made a mistake by saying a billion euros the other day. So it's not a billion euros, it's 150 million euros. So 50 million euros a year, you sign 3 years, that's 150 million euros. So I got my maths right this time. So, anyways, that's a lot of money that could be put to some other use. But that is not what I'm here to discuss today. But I'm going to link it in the end. So if you want to stay with me, let's start with the story of Simon Adingra. Simon Adingra currently plays for Brighton and Hove Football Club. You might know them as Brighton FC in the Premier League. And it's been one of their outstanding, talents, they have so far. Is a pacey winger. It's an exciting footballer to watch, and it's one of the biggest stars that has come from within Africa, and is representing Africa very well in the Premier League. But what was his story? So it goes like, uh, uh, in 2014, when he was just a 12-year-old, a fake scout, a football scout, actually promised them and him and about 10 other boys, 12-year-olds. So you can imagine that this guy was living in his on the dusty streets of Abobo, in the northern suburbs of Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire. Most families in Africa, families in South America, or anywhere, or Southeast Asia, is opportunity for them when their sons or daughters, you know, take to football because they see it as some kind of route out of poverty, like a one way to get out of poverty if they make it. So it was not a different story for Simon Adingra. Why do I keep saying Solomon? Simon Adingra. So the family put up about 300 euros, like the rest of the 10 families. And this scout told them that they've got an academy in Benin Republic. And that's it. They have to sell off family land, sell off, things, get the extended family to donate money. And they paid this scout. And then they were taken to Benin Republic and they were abandoned. there. So from Ivory Coast to Benin Republic, you'll be talking about probably 1,000 kilometers. So you can imagine when you're a 12-year-old, you're still attached to the apron strings of your mom, and someone has taken you off, your family, taking you to a place that you hardly know anyone, and then put them in a room and fed them for a week or two, and the morning, and it's basically told them there's nothing for you to do. And, they were stranded basically. So they started washing plates in a local restaurant just to gather some money to be able to afford transportation back to Cote d'Ivoire. The parents don't know where they are. They just knew if everything went well, the agent was going to call me. If you remember the story of Sadio Mane too, the mom did not know that he was already in France. So when he was paid, he said that what he usually do, he was being paid 20 euros a week, and um he will buy calling cards, 5 euros, just to call the mom and say, "Oh, I'm here, I'm in France, I'm doing well, I'm playing football." So it's people don't really understand the stories behind these poor footballers, who make it big. So there was the story of Simon Adingra and the 10 other boys. So while they were washing plates, in the restaurant, a Benanoa guy who had lived in Cote d'Ivoire had their accent, and this accent, they sound Ivorian. He talked to them and he discovered that they were stranded. 12-year-olds. Just imagine how young they were. And this guy, was their savior who got them it took them to Ghana, and then it got them better accommodation, and they played in a competition. And that was when I think it's called Right to Dream Academy, and the scouts in Accra, from the Egyptian Mansour groups, a football academy that was based in Takoradi. They discovered him, and that was when they picked him up, and then he was sold to Nordsjælland in Denmark, and then the rest is history. So he's now playing in the Premier League. So this story is typical of so many young footballers from Africa. So I just told you story. I think if you want to read the rest of the story, it's kind of a long read. Go to More Sports Facebook site or the website. That will be moresports.com. It's 16th of October 2024 that it was published. So you can read about this story. And you'll find out that FIFPro, that is the Global Union of Professional Players, football players, did a survey in Africa and picked 263 professional players, women and women from Botswana, Cameroon, DR Congo, Ghana, Kenya, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Their findings were startling. It showed that more than 70% of the players were contacted by someone who said they could help them move to another club in Europe. 43% of the players who took part were offered trials, while 39% were told they will be offered a contract with the club. 56% did not get a trial they were promised. 44% did not sign a contract they were promised, while 70% indicated that they have not been educated about agents or intermediaries by their club. So this is why it's a tough industry and scams are rampant. So for every Simon Adingra that makes it, remember Simon Adingra went to Benin Republic with 10 other guys who we don't know today. Their stories been forgotten. We don't know their names, today. So this is what we're saying. You can read more about that story. So the menace of rogue football agents in Africa is quite, rampant, and it's something that needs to be curbed. We need to do that so that Africa can produce more talent. We certainly have the capacity to produce a lot more talent than we have now. We should be churning out star footballers like they do in South America. Yes, that's what we should be doing. We have that capacity to turn out fantastic players year after year, if they have the conducive and the right kind of environment. So I'm going to link this story to it's not all gloom and doom stories, right? Africa is doing well in some areas. So if you look at what has happened in Senegal, In my own lifetime, I've seen Senegal, who are perpetual underachievers, gone from underachieving to actually staying at the pinnacle of African football. And that feat did not happen by mistake, and it did not happen overnight. Senegal was not pulling his weight. They used to have fantastic footballers in Europe, but in as a team, as a national team, they were not doing really well, and their clubs were not doing well in Africa as well, in African football. So it took the FA, the Senegalese FA, to realize that and said, okay, what we need to do is to build the game from the ground up. We need to, invest in the game. As you know, in Africa, the governments are not that particularly rich, that they will be able to sponsor sports like this should. And so this is where private money comes in. And this is where ex-footballers with the right connections, with the right deep pockets, when they meet together with private investment in conjunction with the FA, they can produce magic. And Ghana and Senegal are and then South Africa, they are the leading lights of youth football, of grassroots football organization and production in Africa. So if you take this story, let's take the story of Papa Matassa of Tottenham Hotspurs. He was part of this group of 51 footballers from Senegal who were playing in Europe, and the top five European leagues. And that is the most in Africa. So, and that is down to the work of the FA. They call them the FA in Senegal. Obviously, it's French. I can't Federation. That's something I can't get now. But they've worked together with an academy that is called Generation Foot. I think it's in French. It should be Generation or something like that, but we speak English, so it's Generation Foot. So maybe football generation or something like that, if you understand it. So that was based in Dakar. That is still based in Dakar. And that academy produced Sadio Mane, formerly of Liverpool FC, and Ismail Assar, now who played for Watford and I think now plays for a Premier League club, which I can't remember often. Now, there's another academy. There are two major academies, that have been producing all of these talents in Senegal. The other one is Diambas Academy. And this academy was started by a French Senegalese player called Sek, and also the famous ex-Arsenal, ex-Crystal Palace manager. You know who I'm talking about, Patrick Vieira. It was started in 2003. So in 2003, Patrick Vieira was still a player, was still a Premier League player, and he was investing heavily in this academy because he knew that's how it's going to. So they've got this affiliation with clubs in France. So Generation Foot is in Senegal, and Diambas is situated in Sali. So that club, the Ambas, produced Idrissa Gueye. Idrissa Gueye played for Everton Football Club. Salif Cisse before they began their careers in Europe. So these the Ambas understood the African setting. So if you're going to go to Africa to start academies, you must provide everything from nutrition to schooling to, the academy, basically, the schooling and all of that. So it's absolutely free for the kids. So they are certified by UNESCO. So these two academies, for instance, when Ali Cisse, the last African Cup of Nations, called 27 players to play for the national team. In that, team, that from these two academies, right, is a bulk. 8 players from that team came from those two academies. So that's a direct correlation to investment in grassroots football and also the results. that you want to see, that these guys from when they were like 9 year olds playing in the academies, and now they're playing in Europe and they're playing in the national team. That is input and output, quality input, quality output. That is the two. Papa Matassa came from that. He's a new African star on the block. We saw him. He's a fantastic player. So he currently plays for Tottenham Hotspurs. And these two things we have discussed, if you understand uh, the crowning glory, I'll tell you the work that was being done in Senegal from the early 2000s, 2001, 2003. They had Generation Food, they have the Ambas FC, the academies, basically. It came to fruition in 2022 when Senegal basically clinched everything in African football. And the key guys were these guys who came from the academy. They brought glory to the Senegalese national team and their Senegalese homeland. So, out of seven out of the last nine CAF means Confederation of African Football. The beach soccer tournaments have been won by Senegal. And in 2022, they are beaten rivals Egypt, you know, to do that. So they also beat Egypt to win the African Cup of Nations in 2021. Yeah. Then they cemented their hands on all African titles. So in 2022, the home-based Teranga Lions, that's the name that the national football team is called, the Teranga Lions, the Lions of Senegal. They won the Chan in the championship. That is the Confederation of African Football title for players who play within the African continent but representing their countries. So that was what they did. They won that. They won the CAF Under 20 AFCON, African Cup of Nations for Under 20. They won that in 2023. And, they also won the Under 17, CAF Under 17 African, Cup that year. So they went off to the Under 17 World Cup later. I think they got to the quarterfinals or semifinals. They got to the semifinals before, they left. So in 2020, the CAF Awards night, Sadio Mane won the prestigious African Footballer of the Year award. 20-year-old Pape Matassa, who made his professional debut with Generation Foot in his native country of Senegal before going off to Ligue 1 side, Metz. He won the Youth Player of the Year. Pape Ousmane Sako won the Goal of the Year. And of course, the Coach Aliou Cisse, won the Men's Coach of the Year. So it was a clean sweep for Senegal. So this was a journey that started in the early 2000s, 2001 to be specific. So, and you all knew that the Coach Aliou Cisse, was part of the best Ivorian teams that got to the very near to the top of African football, but never quite made it. And because he was involved with all of these youth development schemes with the FA, with all these academies, and with all these connections to clubs in France, and then from France, these players find their way to the top five, European leagues. Something is happening with African football. And Senegal, it was not by mistake that just 2 weeks ago, playing a friendly with the England national team, the Senegalese defeated them 3-1. So it's not by mistake. It's a journey that started long ago. So we don't have a lot of these academies in Africa, especially in West Africa. But the problem is, if you look at the academy that runs in the biggest academy that runs in Ghana, it is owned by an Egyptian consortium, the sporting business. So I think that's why there's a bit of lag between the success, the Soroway success of Senegal versus that of Ghana. Because if someone is trying to develop your footballers from when they are 6 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, They need to soak in the cultural intensities within your country first. They need to understand every country in the world. If you take a player from Brazil, a player from Brazil wants to play with flair. He wants to play with a bit of technicality. He wants to enjoy the football. He wants to have a smile on his face. A player that is playing in Germany wants to work like a clockwork. There's his, we've got a script, we've got to follow the script. It's so mechanical. German football is mechanical. If you come to England, until now that they're trying to change things, it's kick and follow. So every nation, if you look at Argentinian football, it's football that is full of passion, guile, and talent. That's what Argentinian football is known of. Now, we're fearless. We're gonna play the game however you want it. We can be full of guile, and then we can do whatever it takes to win the cup. So that is typical of some other South American teams. So if you get people who do not understand your culture, training your kids how to play football according to your culture, I think that there's a bit of a mismatch in there. And this is why I do think that it's important for our players to understand that they need, when they retire, they cannot just seek to come into the FA, try to go into the politics of football in Africa, or to just be looking for money. They need to have this money now and they need to invest it in African football. They have been there, they know all the tiers of football, and they've been to the highest, point of football. So they have enough experience, enough capital to come back and develop the game at the grassroots. And they have the right connections. I'm not saying spend your money. They have the right connections to say, okay, if there's private investment in African football, then the guys who are bringing in money can bring the money and look at the book side of things. And then the guys who are bringing the technical expertise and the cultural now should be able to be part of that union to come together and do something that is profitable and that is purposeful and that is fit for purpose as it concerns the national team and the all-round development of the game in Africa. So if you want to read more about all of these articles, I've just shared about 3 different articles. It's in our Facebook site and on our website. So if you go to More Sports on Facebook, you can read quite a lot about this. The last one about the Senegalese, the football FSF, that's for Senegalese FA, was published on 15th of March 2023. You can go to More Sports, or you can go straight to moresports.co.uk. Then you can read quite a lot of that. So why am I saying all of this? Why do I like to go into history? Why do I like to go behind? I like to let you know that there's always life after football as an entertainment spectacle. But Drogba is fantastic. He's done this, he's done that. Okay, we enjoyed that game. But what happens when he retires? What kind of influence do they have on the game? What kind of lasting influence or transcendental influence have they got on the game? And that comes from investing into the business side of the game and the cultural side of the game. And academies nowadays are money spinners. It's not exactly that you're going to lose your money if you get the right structure. So let's look at if we think we don't know what's going on, let's look at some of the footballers that own clubs, right? Let's look at some of them as examples of what our African players could be doing. So David Beckham, Inter Miami Football Club, USA. That's the football club that the great Messi plays for. What's David Beckham to Inter Miami? David Beckham is a co-owner, is the president of soccer operations. They launched the club in 2020, and they've signed fantastic players like Lionel Messi, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba. So when you have a club, you can actually still influence the game by signing these great players who are coming to the end of their life, and they could instill quite a lot. If you look at Inter Miami FC, for instance, Lionel Messi's deal with them is fantastic in the sense that it's helping them to fill the stadiums. It's helping them to sell shirts. I'll never have one. I bought one of their shirts anyway because I love the way it's been designed, and it's quite fantastic. I saw it in the stores. I loved it. I bought it because I knew Messi. So this is what, this can be. Let's look at Didier Drogba of Ivory Coast. Didier Drogba was a former co-owner and player for Phoenix Rising FC, USA, in the United States League, championship. So Drogba became the first player owner in modern football during his time at the club in America. First player owner. So that was, I think he divested from it now. And then we have Gerard Piqué. He owns FC Andorra in Spain. So he bought this club via his holding company that's called Cosmos Holding. So, and under FC Andorra climbed the Spanish football ladder. After his acquisition, they just went up. Ronaldo Nazario, if you don't know, Ronaldo Nazario, the original Ronaldo. Remember the 2002 Cup? That was the guy who tore it up. People do not know that he bought a majority share in Real Valladolid in Spain in 2018. And I read an article just about 3 weeks ago that is thinking of selling Real Valladolid. Right. He also owns, he is a majority owner of Cruzeiro FC of Brazil. So Ronaldo is actively involved in both club business and football development. Another one is Paolo Maldini of Italy. He's a co-owner of Miami FC of USA in the USL Championship. So he's a co-owner as well. So he invested in the club with the businessman called Ricardo Silva. Right? Let's look at Thierry Henry. Everybody knows Thierry Henry of France, right? He's an investor in FC Toledo of Spain. They're in the fourth division. Toledo is in the fourth division. He is a part of a group that includes other ex-players trying to revive the club. So who says that any of our players who is earning silly money now, or who has the opportunity to earn silly money, should not take it and buy Stars Football Club of Lagos, a club with a fantastic, deep-seated football heritage. They are football royalty that's lying there in the doldrums. They can be revived, and they can serve as a springboard to produce talent. You can link an academy to that kind of club, and they can, sell players for good price. And the good thing is that if you have all these academies, you produce all of these players. Not all of them are going to make it to Europe, so you're able to retain some of the talent in the local league, and you have a football club that pays them, that grows their talent, and it makes the overall quality of the African leagues to be actually better. So this is what we're talking about. So let's look at another player from Sweden this time around, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's a co-owner of Hammarby IF Sweden. He used his investment in AEG Sweden to buy this club. Although it cost a stir among, he played for Malmo FC when he was in. So his boyhood club was Malmo FC. And going to buy your rivals is frowned upon. But it's his investment money. And it's in Sweden, and is keeping football going. And he's making money from it. In fact, the next player that is Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard, you all know him. Yeah, a fantastic Belgian footballer that played for Chelsea Football Club and Real Madrid FC. So he's a co-owner of San Diego 1904 FC. So eventually the project stalled, but he was involved, in its setup. So another one that you pay attention to is Cesc Fabregas. He's a former Arsenal and Chelsea player. He's now a co-owner, player, and now coach of Como 1907 FC of Italy. So they are in the top flight now. They qualified into the top flight. So I heard he's being targeted by other clubs, but he's still there because he's still there, but he's been targeted to go to other clubs. But even if he leaves for other clubs, he's a part owner. He's a co-owner of that club. So he invested in the club, in that Como club, alongside Thierry Henry and a few other players. So who says are African stars who have made this money? Do you know what's going to happen in Senegal? They've got maybe 8 to 9 players earning fantastic amounts of money in the Saudi Professional League. When they do retire, like Sadio Mane retires, all of these guys retire. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go back to Senegal. They're going to say, okay, let's collaborate. Let's put our money together and let's, start another academy, or let us invest in the already existing academies. So we already know about Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, and Phil Neville. They are classed as the class of 92. So there are these young, chaps who helped United to win everything, in the 90s and early 2000s. So they own Salford City FC. They are now in League Two. So they started way back from non-league. They're now in League Two. Call them the class of 92. Yeah. So they sold some stakes in it, but they still own it together. And that club is making progress. It's making progress. See, we all know that Gary Neville is not a good coach. He went to Valencia and he had his pots handed down to him. He didn't know how to coach. He said it himself. He's not talented at coaching. But you know what you can be? With your money, you can be a football club owner, you can be an academy owner, and you can make money for other people working for you, and you can create jobs in your own countries and your own local areas, just like Sadio Mane has already done. So these are, you could say, these are ex-players. But let's look at, even if you are a current player, there are ways in which you can get involved in grassroots football. And when you get involved, you push the quacks out because you are going to bring structure, you are going to bring order, you are going to bring investment, and you're going to bring jobs. This is what we're talking about. So, the current players, so Cristiano Ronaldo has said severally that he's going to buy a top club when he's done with football, when he's done with playing. He's going to buy a top club, top club. So already, because of the rules, if you're playing and you have your own club, it might go against you. And I think that's why it's not by a club. That's why. But already, he's invested heavily in gyms. He has his CR7 crunch. He's invested in hotels and invested in branding. I think he brands apparels with some other brands that they sell. Lionel Messi as well. So like I did hint, when I started, Lionel Messi, he has not got direct club ownership yet, and I think he wants to hang his boots before he starts that because of the rules. So he has a stake in Inter Miami related promotions through personal sponsorships. Like I said, he's helping them to say. In fact, if you look at his salary. His salary was negotiated not on the basis of the game that he plays, but on the added value that he brings to the club. Fill the stadium, sell merchandise, all of these things. The fact that he's one of the best footballers of all times, and he's brought all of that equity into the Inter Miami brand. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a negotiation that once I retire, I already own like 30 to 40% of this club, or we're going to sell it to you. So if you remember Mesut Ozil, Ozil was a fantastic German football player who was part of the last World Cup winning German squad, and he's of Turkish origin. Actually, he used to play for Arsenal as well before he moved to Turkey. I think he's retired now. Not too sure about that. Is a co-owner of esports team M10 and a part owner of Mexican club Necaxa, with other investors like Eva Longoria. And he also invested in streetwears, coffee shops, and Turkish football initiatives. So what is he doing with his money? He's building the economy of Turkey. And I think he's got some investment in Germany as well. So he's spending money in some areas of both countries. So let's look at Antoine Griezmann of France. He doesn't own a football club because he's still playing, but he's heavily involved in sports entrepreneurship. He is into esports and horse racing. He owns Greasy Esport Team and is invested into horse racing because that is not in conflict. It's not in conflict with the football game. So he's not breaking any rules. So let's look at Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale, ex-Tottenham, ex-Real Madrid, broke our hearts in Liverpool. Fantastic footballer, deadly left foot. He owned a stake in Wrexham AFC that was bought by two Nollywood and Hollywood, filmmakers. He owned a stake in that. I'm still gonna get back to him because he's preparing to be part of a consortium that buys another club. Yeah, I'll tell you about that soon. And then the last person I'm going to look at is Gerard Piquet, still influential. His Cosmos Group is involved in Andorra FC as a club owner. He also participates in tennis, Davis Cup revamp in tennis. So you can see how these ex-footballers and why, let's look at ex-African footballers, that when you look at them and what they do is more of politics. So if you look at Samuel Eto'o, he's not a club owner, but he's the president of Cameroon FA. He's pushing for reforms and investment in domestic football, which is fantastic. But that door was open to him because he made shitload of money. Pardon my French. He made bagloads of money in is it called Anchi Maklala? Russia was heavily investing his oil money into football. Yeah. And Chelsea fan, you should be grateful for that Russian revolution because it was what produced Ibrahimovic, Ibrahimovic, no, Abramovich. If it wasn't for him, 50 years, Chelsea would still be trying to win something of note. Oh, when you have money, it push you in the front row, right? It opens the door for you. So you look at Didier Drogba as well. It's a share in Phoenix Rising FC of USA, but it's involved in youth football development in Africa Coast. But yeah, this is not, you're not actively running stuff, investing in stuff, changing it. Emmanuel Adebayo is been hinted to have football academies in Togo or working with some. He owns the Foundation supporting youth and sports. We also have the likes of Iwan Kwakano. He runs Kanoa Foundation. He's expressed interest in running or owning a club in Nigeria, but we all know that the type of money that you need to survive is not the one that he's got. And that's exactly what I'm saying about Osimhen. If you have the ability to get this money, get the money. Get it for 3 years. You have 200 million euros. You have your savings. You have some of the investment. When you come out of football, when you retire, you can actively participate because you know all the chains that links the football business. So, and you have contacts and you have different leagues in which you have influence. It's got influence in Turkish league now. It's got influence in Italian league. It's got, and if it goes up to Saudi, you will get influence in Saudi league. And it will be able to say, okay, this academy, oh guys, you need to come and see this talent, blah, blah, blah. So this is how things happen. Things happen because people know one another. And if you want to look at external, sports guy who are actually investing actively in football now, it is the reason it is of the fact that they've got money. They earn truckloads of money. So if you look at LeBron James bought about 4%, is it 4 or 5% of Liverpool just about 3, 4 years ago. And I think he's got about 300% return because FSG came in, bought Liverpool for 300 million pounds. And right now, so they've been in there for like less than, like, yeah, around 9 years. Now, if you want to buy Liverpool, you need to stump up about 4.5 billion or 5 billion pounds. So imagine 300 million to that. So you can look at the kind of investment that we're talking about. So if we have our own players who have the opportunity to actually get the door open for them, to a certain extent, take it. Take the money. There's all see, average football life is 10 years for a footballer. And you have the rest of the years ahead of you. What are you going to do? Punditry, you're not going to get the best punditry in Europe. You're not going to, the African, sports channels, they can't pay you that much. So this is where you make the money. This is where your expertise is. This is where your contacts is. This is where your influence is. That's what we're talking about. And if you look at Michael B. Jordan, the guy who's on Wakanda, is a part owner of AFC Bournemouth, Premier League club. So this is where we need to get out. This is the right kind of mentality that our players need to get to. I'm not only talking about Osimhen. Like if Lukman Afolabi, yeah, If he gets approached by Saudi money or any Arab money, I'll say take it. See, this career thing is overrated anyway. Take the money. I can bet you that all of these guys who went over to the Senegalese guy who went over to Saudi, they're not stupid. They understand the game. They're going to own clubs in France and link it to the academies and to the league clubs in Senegal. And that chain is going to continue for quite a long time. This is what we're talking about. Even Amokachi, we had Amokachi, the bull, so much influence. He scored the only goal that won Everton anything in this last 70 years or 80 years. One of the best players Eagles ever produced. When it came to him to get his twin sons into academies, he had to go all the way to Norway, where he was coaching. You build influence from if you know where you're going, you start to build the influence. This is why I say that a lot of our players, a lot of African players need professional expertise or help. Don't only pay the chef that keeps your body going. Don't pay the agents alone. Pay for a strategist. Pay for innovation manager. Pay for a strategy foresight person to actually map the industry for you and to say, look, these are your options. That's your option. That's your options. Look at Trent Alexander-Arnold is only 26. He got his brother because of the influence that he's got. It's got his brother to be his manager, to be the manager of Robertson as well, and a few others. And I think the what's his name? Simikas is also on his bill. That's how you build dynasty, guys. As Africans, we can't just wait and allow the game to be played right in front of us. So before I bring this to an end, there are two more stories that came out just in the last 2 days. So Gareth Bale, yeah, is part of a US based consortium's Plymouth takeover bid. So former Real Madrid and West star Gareth Bale is part of a US based consortium's attempt to take over League One club Plymouth Argyle. Talks with the private equity firm are said to be at an early stage. Guys, I have an insight into what's going to happen, but before I say it, you know the legendary NFL quarterback Tom Brady, he previously became a part of the new Birmingham City's ownership group. Guys, it's a big slice of cake what football is. And it's beyond, I want to make a name. Make a name. It's going to keep you out there. If you've made the name like Osimhen, you've won the Scudetto, you've won the Turkish League, you've won the Turkish FA Cup. What are you looking for? Take the money while you can, please. There is life. And, I think we should stop judging African players like we judge European players. Look, the average European footballer, if they retire today and they spaff all of their money up the wall, put, let it go down the drain. They have social systems to fall back on. They'll be paid money to survive their old age. Look at Nigeria, look at Ghana, look at other sub-Saharan African countries. A lot of these ex-players, they die. They die from lack of healthcare, from simple things. Personal hygiene stuff. Come on now. Africa and Europe, we're in a totally, totally different space. So if you got the opportunity to make a difference, the whole system is counting on you. So this is what we're talking about. They're going to take over Plymouth Argyle. And the last one I'm going to say, ex-Premier League goalkeeper buys the club he manages. So this is a guy called David Stockdale. You can look him up. He plays for Leeds, and he also played as a goalkeeper for Fulham, And he went back to his club and bought the place in Derbyshire. They're called the Firstly Celtic. The club was going into they had some kind of financial difficulties, and it's been then out to buy. If he's able to move that club from a non-league club to any tier of maybe the third tier or fourth tier of the English football, it's going to be getting some money. FA Cup might be played on their account. So this is what I'm saying. Look, More sports exist to challenge the norms about what we talk about African football. That's what we do. We want to have alternative opinions. We want to go behind the scenes. We want to dig deep. We say, look, how do we support our people? When we watch football every Saturday, we get this adrenaline boost. We're happy, we're sad, depending on if our club is winning or losing. But after we've done that, after all is said and done, we return back to our friends, our families, citizens who don't have a job, who are just using football or sports as a means of coping with life. We know these things, we see these things. Nobody's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And it starts from, if have you seen the Argentinian players? No matter what they do all over the world, Tevez went back to play in Argentina. So how many African, stars retire from all of these leagues, even if it's Belgian league or Norwegian league, Swedish league, some of these unknown leagues go back to Africa league to play. One or two. And when they do play, they play for nothing because the guys they have paid peanuts. But yeah, we expect the government to do something. We expect, the corporate society to do something. But we also expect a lot from the ex-footballers or the current footballers that we have now. They have the kind of power that they've got, the social influence they've got. Guys, it's massive. So there's this song called "We Are Shake Body." That song had its days about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and the artist was not doing really well. It took to revive the old career of that artist. That song was for Yamin Lamar, a 17-year-old football player, to dance to that tune for just 20 seconds. 20 seconds. And that revived the old career of that artist. It's like it's just been given a new life. That's what it seems now. So, guys, as Africans, we need to begin to understand the business. We have the psychological and the euphoric part of the game. Let's enjoy it. Oh, Liverpool won something. I support superstars. I support TP Mazembe. I support Gor Mahia in Kenya. Or I support Lusaka, wherever it is, Lusaka Warriors. Whatever team you support. But don't let us be blind to the opportunities that come our way. And don't let's say it is personal life. Of course, we're not going to come and change your mind or change the trajectory that you've decided. But we do have an opportunity to let you know that once you're at the top as an African, you carry the torch for millions of Africans, hundreds of millions of Africans. You carry the torch for all of us because those of us who live in the diaspora, how can we forget the sacrifices of those who came before us? In this UK, when I was going to rent my first apartment in London, I had read the history in the fees. In the 60s, you will not get, in fact, when we want to rent houses now or we want to buy, we look for one that is decent and all of that. But they couldn't do it. Even if they had money or they couldn't do it because there's a sign that says no dogs, no Irish, no blacks. That is a society. It's improved, but it's not hunky dory yet. So this is why our analysis must go beyond is any money is made up, his family is made up. We must go to what can this influence, what can this talent, what can these opportunities, what can these connections do for us in Africa? Africa is rising. I've traveled to a few places in Africa. It is rising big time, but we need to make sure that it rises a lot today. Look at the amount of money that's on offer at the FIFA Club World Cup. Look at the amount of money that could come from us producing world-class talent in Africa. These guys go to Europe. Look at the PSG team, Dembele, Dowie. These guys are bloody Africans. Do you get me? There are thousands of more talented. When I was in school, there's this guy. I can't even. I think his name is either Ibrahim or Lukman or something like that. I can't remember his name, but the name they call him by is what I know. His name is Omobo. Omobo, translated from Yoruba, actually means the son of football. This guy lives and breathes football. I saw another guy when I went down to Lagos recently. We call him Foley. This guy's super talented. He was running 14 seconds, 100 meters, and he was a left footer. I've never seen a better left footer. Forget, I think it was on, who can I compare him to? You know this guy in Chelsea now? This guy in Chelsea that they call him Ice Cold, Palmer, Cole Palmer. That was what his game was like. And I'm talking, this was 1990, 1990, 1991. I deeply respected this guy. But both of them now, they're getting on with their lives in Nigeria, but they're not nowhere near sports. That's a loss. It's a loss to all of us. So, guys, I hope you have enjoyed my rant for today. But it's if you sat down with me now, you understand that it's all good. We've talked about rogue, agents, how they are affecting lives in Africa, stealing the hopes and dreams of young people and their families, and actually putting them in harm's way. We've seen it. We talked about the story of Simon Adingra, um, of um, of it's not Bournemouth. Why do I want to say Bournemouth? It's Brighton FC, Brighton and Hove FC. Yeah, at 12 years old, dumped in Benin Republic, all the way from Cote d'Ivoire. It's probably 1,500 kilometers. Yeah, it was dumped there. Somebody found them by Providence and brought them to Ghana, where it was seen again by some other scout, and now the rest is history. So we've seen how conscientious investment into youth football, into underground, into kid football academies actually produces over a period of time. So Senegal started in the 2000s, 2001, and by 2022, they were taking everything in Africa, all the glories, everything that eluded their ancestors, they got it back and some more. And then we also saw how players that are playing now in other areas are heavily investing in the sports because that is the future. They are investing in the sports now. It's going to go bigger, guys. This sports is going to go bigger. And, we've said that our players, wherever they are, if you've won something, Lookman has won something. He's won Winners' Cup with Europa Cup with Atalanta. If he gets big money move, take it. I don't care if it's in Saudi, take it. If it's in Turkey, take it. Because when you make the money, when you keep the money, when you retire, you have options. Because already as you're growing, you're building connections, you're building bridges, you're making friends. All you just need to do is connect the dots, and you don't have to wait for anyone. You've got the money. You can buy a club, you can become a player owner, you can co-own, you can work with your friends. And then you can live the rest of your lives doing something that you actually love, not something that is forced on you. I want to go into farming, blah, 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 blah. No, do something that you love the sports. That's why you go into it. So why didn't you raise 1,000 others while making money from it? So that's it. So guys, thank you for being with me. Don't forget, we love what you're doing for us, listening to us, and also by hitting the like buttons on our Facebook, on our social media site, that's YouTube, by visiting our website, www.mosports.com.co.uk. We love it. We don't take it for granted. So we do appreciate you. So next time I will discuss another fantastic topic. God bless you. Cheers. Yeah. Bye.